Hello, my friend, and welcome to TFU News and Views. I am your host, Anthony Bricali, owner, operator, madman behind TFU.INFO, the website, the Toy Archive, this podcast, Transformers University podcast, and so much more. I want to welcome you to this definitively newsy and viewsy episode of TFU News and Views. I hadn't actually planned to do an episode, and I just decided to fire up the mic. There's a little bit of news. I opened a bunch of stuff, so I'll probably have some views on some toys I've opened recently, and not all of them are new, but I figure, why not talk and just have a good time and enjoy Transformers for a little while with you, my listeners. So let's start with the news. Yesterday, as of this recording, Hasbro released official images of Legacy Iguanus and Legacy Core Class Skywarp, and I have to say that they're pretty sweet looking. I'm going to pull up those images right now, actually, of Iguanus. I'm really excited about the Iguanus figure. I was a little bummed to see use Core Class. I feel like I should have known that to begin with, but overall, it's just neat to see him in that form. Really well done too. The sculpting looks really cool. At a $10 price point, and I've really come to enjoy the Core Class figures. I've been opening a few of them lately, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And I'm not usually one for the smaller scale, but I see what they're doing here. And look, Hasbro ultimately is going to reintroduce all the major characters in Core Class, I think, as they're doing it already. So expect Bumblebee at some point. Expect the rest of the Seekers. So we're going to probably get Thundercracker and probably get a 3-pack Conehead somewhere. And I would not be surprised if we start going down that road of Grimlock. And we're getting a Shockwave, right? It just feels like they're gonna tread as much of that path as they can at that scale. And if they do Grimlock, they'll do the rest of the Dinobots, and then it's open season basically, right, for Autobot cars and odd Decepticons. But you know what? If they do Pretenders all at this scale, shell forms that become vehicles, I am in. I am definitely in. I think this Iguanus is really, really neat looking. I'm trying to figure out recolor, repaint potential. I mean, obviously you could do Beast Wars Iguanus or Beast Wars Transmetal 2 Iguanus out of this with just a simple, probably head swap. The other one I see, just looking at the motorcycle alt mode and the way the wheels sit on the shoulders, if you smooth out this engineering, and it would just be basically stealing the engineering, but probably all new parts, would be Cybertron Ransack, which feels like partially a focus with Legacy and the rumor of the Velocitron stuff coming later this year from Walmart. So, gotta say, really, really excited about Core Class Iguanus. I know I saw a little chatter online that people wanted Pretenders with a shell, and why would Hasbro do a transforming shell instead of doing the inner robot? As someone who owns all of the first year Pretenders, I gotta say, inner robots for the most part suck. And that is just really, really, I don't even display them. I have them all in the shells. Look at them now. The Decepticons clearly have all the better shells, as the Autobots are all just funny looking humans. I will be all in on a Groundbreaker that transforms into Davy Jones from the Monkees. If you haven't looked, I tweeted it out to do a side-by-side of Davy Jones and G1 Groundbreaker shell. They are pretty much the same person. But the Decepticons, aside from Iguanus, they've got Bugley, they've got Skullgrin, they've got, later on they'll have Bludgeon and Thunderwing. And I guess the reason I bring those guys up, even Bomb Burst, trying to look off in the distance at my Decepticon Pretenders. All of those would make great, great toys at this scale with that kind of detailing. And get decent alt modes, or get alt modes that they really didn't have to begin with, because the alt modes on Pretenders is a lot of usually just folding the legs somewhere and laying it on its back. I don't quite get the outrage or the outcry around Pretender shells that transform. It's not like Hasbro hasn't done this a whole bunch before. I brought up Thunderwing and Bludgeon. They did it with both of them. Yes, Thunderwing's shell transformed, but no one cares about that in a robot, really, right? Because how he appeared in the comics was his shell, and that's kind of where the character became endeared to people. But yeah, I think about how cool would it be to see like one of these every wave or every other wave. And Hasbro has done, like I said, they've done these transforming Pretender shells before. They've done Bludgeon. They've done um, Thunderwing. They've done Skullgrin in the Generations line, and that's a fairly neat toy unto itself. So I'm happy to see the other Pretenders get a crack here. They even did Black Shadow, which is Thunderwing's Japanese counterpart, as a recolor of Thunderwing, and then as his own mold in Titan's Return, which never got a Thunderwing repaint and really should have. So there you have it, right? So this is something that's been done many times before, and I rather see Hasbro play with these unique designs and these shells than these, fairly boring rectangular robots that most people, myself included, can identify without my website because Pretender shell robots are kind of generic on their own. Now, the other outcry around is around Skywarp. Now, as someone who just recently opened the Core Class Starscream mold, I got to say, I'm holding it right here. This toy on its own is just great. It is a neat Core Class figure, superposable. I'll give you a little mini review here while I play with it. And I have to say, it's got a fairly innovative transformation for a toy this small, and something. It's got a lot of different uses of things for what is the Seeker mold. It's got a fake cockpit on the robot mode, which I usually don't like the faux parts, but it doesn't bother me here. It really doesn't. All right, I'm playing with it. I'm like, how do I do this again? I'm like, oh yeah, the wings swing around. The wings swing around on this thing. How cool is that? Anyway, it's a great little toy. It's certainly very fun to play with and fiddle with, as I'm doing right now. Well, I probably shouldn't be doing while I'm trying to record a show, but it's great. And the conjecture around Skywarp, or the buzz around Skywarp that is somewhat negative, is that he doesn't come with his arm cannons. I've seen people call them null rays. They're not null rays. Starscream has the null rays. There is a term I've seen tweeted out of what they're actually called from his tech spec, but it's not null rays. So we'll go with arm cannons just for ease of use. I'm fine with him coming with this weird grippy beam weapon. That doesn't bother me at all. The arm cannons missing doesn't bother me at all. And if you really want arm cannons from him, I did tweet out a picture of this as well. Twitter at TFU_info of the Core Class Starscream with Combiner Wars Legends class. I can't remember how these worked back then. Combiner Wars Legends class Skywarp, which is the small scaled Skywarp, basically what is now Core Class. And those weapons fit from one to the other. So if you really want arm cannons, there are black arm cannons out there. Now, they're not an exact match to G1. They're not an exact match to the Starscream toy that came out. But they do work on the figure, and you can probably find one of those figures for fairly cheap. And that's all the Transformers news right now. And that's fine, because like I said, I've said on a podcast I was on Mike Cybert's podcast, Mike Cybert Radio. Once again, check it out. There's a 2-part episode of conversations with me and Mike. And one of the things I mentioned is he mentioned how much he liked news and views, and I always say the news is done. There's other people who do the news, and they do it much more efficiently and much more regularly than I do. So I try not to do the news, but he mentioned how much he liked the views part of news and views. So with that in mind, as I'm clicking away at putting this Starscream back into robot mode, my fingers are just much too big to play with this size class. But that's okay. Here we go. I will give you some views on some toys I've opened recently, and I've got a massive backlog of stuff to open, and that's not bragging. That's just me saying that I do pick up a lot of stuff, and I don't get the time to open it or enjoy it the way I would like. So it tends to sit until I get fed up of things sitting around, and then go, okay, I'm going to open 5 toys tonight, and do that for a couple of nights in a row. And so I've opened a bunch of stuff, Transformers and non-Transformers, and I think I am going to give you my thoughts on them. What did I open other than Core Class Starscream? Find out right after this.
Hey, want to help out this podcast or the website TFU.INFO? There's a number of ways you can do it. Let me tell you how. You can help us directly by joining our Patreon and enrolling as a student at Transformers University. There, you'll get early access to the podcast as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes peeks and perks for as little as $1 a month. Sign up is quick and easy. Just swing on by to www.patreon.com/TFUINFO. Another way you can help us is by using our Amazon link, www.tfu.info/Amazon. Type that into your browser whenever you want to shop at Amazon, and a portion of what you spend will be contributed back to us. It's that easy. Finally, you don't become the world's longest running transforming toy archive without some help from other fans. We're always on the hunt for photos of figures and accessories we're missing from our pages. If you'd like to contribute, go to tfu.info/help for a list of what we need, or send an email to info@tfu.info. tfu.info, the Alpha Trion and Omega Prime of transforming toys. Now, back to the show.
All right, so what did I open? If you've been following my Twitter, you might see some of the stuff here, and I didn't photograph everything I opened. So if you're a regular follower of my Twitter account at TFU_info, you might not see everything I've opened recently, but I will give you the some of them, and they're going to be from multiple lines, all sorts of Transformers lines, I think, because I do really appreciate some of the lesser publicized lines. There's going to be some relatively older stuff. There's stuff that's probably a year or so old that I opened, and I will say this about toy reviews in general. I don't like doing toy reviews. I hate doing toy reviews. My issue with toy reviews is this. I just want to know if the toy is fun. And sometimes I might need a clarification on the instructions. But overall, I feel toy reviewers as a whole either point out things that are very obvious, especially when it comes to action figure reviews. I've noticed that looking up some things for some of the stuff I've opened. If you're going to point out every elbow and knee joint, you're just filling time. The other thing I would say is that I feel like toy reviewers, after a while, start looking for problems instead of looking for positives. And I feel like there are times in this fandom, and this goes back to enjoying things, when things are unnecessarily blown out of proportion. I'll give you a case in point. One of my personal pet peeves, people complaining about hollowness, hollow parts in Transformers. Generally speaking, it's used to hide stuff later on. It's usually part of the transformation. And I'm not saying that that's always the case. And I'm not saying that some people's concerns aren't well-founded. But overall, it's one of those things that just kind of it always feels like a needless complaint. Okay, the toy feels hollow. Okay, is it because it makes it feel light and then makes it hard to stand? Is that the issue? Or are you just complaining about hollowness because you found a hollow spot? So with those in mind, I just want to point out that that's one of those things that I tend to find tricky about watching toy reviews, and part of why I don't produce toy reviews, because I don't necessarily want to go down that road. I want to know that, hey, look, I bought something and it's fun, and here's why it's fun, or here's why it's not fun, and that's about it. That's usually my point to things. And we will start, I think, with let's see. Well, who am I holding here? I am holding Kingdom Voyager class Tigertron, Toy of the Year for 2021, according to Hasbro, which was funny because I don't know many people that actually got it in 2021. So I'm not sure how it won that vote, but it did. And I have to say, it's a beautiful representation of Tigertron. The face sculpt is fantastic. There's some neat paint spray that kind of splits the difference between the white Japanese coloring of the figure, which dominates the robot mode, and the sandy creamy color of the beast mode, which is much more like the original US release of the toy. So there's a nice combination here. He's got a tail whip, which doesn't, the original toy had it too, but yeah, I don't know. The accessory doesn't really work well for me. The guts gun looks great. It's a shame it doesn't really store well in beast mode, because it doesn't replace like his stomach as the original toy did. It just sits on his stomach. But the robot mode is gorgeous, and the transformation is fairly intuitive, fairly fun. I know it's meant to be an upscale of the Cheetor mold, and I haven't played with my Cheetor mold. Actually, I did open Shadow Panther, and yeah, it's probably about the same, right? You know what? I didn't really compare the two when I was messing around with them. So, but it just overall, as someone who likes Tigertron molds and has a bunch of Tigertrons, this one is pretty great, and I am super super satisfied with it. You know what? Staying in Kingdom, I did open Kingdom Slammer, the little tank that could, and I haven't transformed him back into robot mode yet, but just the square boxy tank mode, it really does give me nostalgia vibes to Metroplex, and having Metroplex as a kid. The thing I remember about my Metroplex, and I still have it, is that I do have all the parts, and we bought it used at a flea market. Not like used open, it was in the box, but the box was definitely open. But I even have Scamper's gun. But Slammer, it's neat. It's a neat reinterpretation of the toy, and giving the character robot mode. It's certainly great as I guess you would call it a weaponizer, right? And based off of the modulator that it's supposed to come off of, which I think was, I want to say Airwave. I was on that Hasbro call, and I don't remember which one they said, but there's no trace of of that figure here. I think it's just the waist piece is the one piece that's the same. Overall, I can't wait to dig my Generations Metroplex out of storage and pop this on it and kind of get that full feel. And I have to find my 6 gun, which is also in storage, and kind of make a family photo. But overall, pretty cool. Neat robot mode, and the tank turret lifts, which is nice. It doesn't really spin, at least not naturally. So you don't really get you can't really emulate the scene from Transformers the movie with it. But overall, pretty cool. I'm wondering what they're going to redeco this into, if at all, because it's parts former, so you can definitely swap out parts. I'm looking forward to seeing what this becomes. But as a square, fun tank, I dig it. And you're going to hear me say that a lot because it's hard for me to dislike a toy. So moving next to that, like I said, Core Class Starscream, looking at that, really, really dig that. I'm just looking at what's in front of me here. I got some Cyberverse stuff. I got an Authentics figure in front of me that I just opened up, and that was Authentics Ratchet. For $6, for a $7 figure, this thing is pretty good. The leg transformation is pretty innovative for something this small. It's got like these 2 panels that flip around from the back to the front and then lock into place, and then the rest of it kind of folds up into a box. But it's a neat take on such a small and cheap figure. You hear me clicking around with it. It's certainly very satisfying in terms of the transformation, because after you fold it up, there's a leg slide that needs to happen to kind of square up the box vehicle mode. And speaking of ratchets in the small scale, I also have I don't even know what they call these anymore, one-step changers, Cyberverse Ratchet, and he's got the futuristic vehicle mode, which is neat because I can't remember if they've ever done really a Cybertronian vehicle mode for Ratchet outside of Siege. And this is really nice. He's got these blades. It's a one-step transformation. He's got this big ass backpack that I could see people probably having issue with. I kind of have issue with it, but you know what? For what it is, it's fine. Again, it forms into this truck ambulance with the floaty wheels. It's certainly better than a lot of the Cyberverse. You know what size class you call those? The small they transform but like halfway figures. They're below. They're like the smallest level Cyberverse. These are really, this one's really nice. Big square truck, and it's actually about exactly the same size as the Authentics figure. So as far as vehicle mode goes, it's got a nice little heft to the size. Now, just going off of what I have on the table here, another thing I got here, which is a lot of fun, and it's a new character, and we're going to jump over to Cyberverse a little more. And it's one that's been sitting in my drawer. It's been on sale on Amazon a bunch of times, and if you could pick it up, I highly recommend it. It is Battle Call Wild Wheel. Now, if you're familiar with the Cyberverse show, Wild Wheel is a Decepticon gunslinger. He's got a cowboy hat. He's got pistols. His episode was pretty good, but the toy really emulates that. I mean, his toy has the cowboy hat, which stows on the back of the figure too. So it actually stores in vehicle mode, and he doesn't always have to wear it. Unlike some of his other armor, which doesn't store very well in robot mode unless you want to use his armor. But the Battle Call figures have this neat gimmick where they have a switch that turns on a light, and the light is sound reactive. So the louder you talk or call or yell at the figure, the different things the light does. It blinks or it glows brighter. It reacts to your voice a little. Such a neat feature. This is something they should put into a wheeljack. Put it in his head and allow people to talk as wheeljack. These are the kind of things. Put it in the head and allow eyes to glow and change color as you're talking and reacting. That would be a neat feature. I don't know if you could do that and hide the LED very well, but this is really neat. Now, Wild Wheel on a whole, and the other reason I opened this figure, there's a Twitter account I'm following called Wild Wheel's Hat, where there's a fan who I don't know his name, I don't know where he lives, but he tries to put Wild Wheel's hat on various figures from Transformers throughout the ages, and it's incredibly amusing. So be sure to check out Wild Wheel's hat on Twitter, and I actually sent him some pictures of I just opened this figure the other day, so I have put it on Unicron, put it on Unicron's Dolphin, and if you know my Twitter account, you know my Unicron has summoned you here for a porpoise, and that porpoise does wear Wild Wheel's hat very well. The alt mode, he turns into a car. It's kind of a generic future-y car, but the other cool thing about Wild Wheel, one, he's got a molded bandolier on his chest. That's neat. There's a lot of neat little things about him. He turns into a car. He's brown. How many brown Transformers are there, really? And I don't even mean like 10. I mean like he is mahogany, rich leather books, brown. And he also has two pistols that stow in molded holsters on his thighs. I can't even tell you where there's a Transformer that does that. So he's got that quick draw kind of feature built into him. You can't really do a quick draw. And the weapons are 5mm, so you can cheat those over to your regular Transformers, your mainline stuff, and they're clear, so they're super cool looking. And then his armor, he's got two like armor fins, like spoiler pieces, and the main chest armor that puts a mask over his face too, which is really neat. A lower half mask, which protects him from COVID. And if you're not going out masking up, you should be. So please keep everyone safe by wearing a mask, just like Wild Wheel. The other pieces though have that small port. I don't know what size it is. I don't want to say it's 3mm, but it's smaller than 5. But it's the same size port that the core class figures use. So you can actually take these Energon colored kind of wings and snap them onto core class figures. So there you have it. And probably older Legend scale figures too, if my Combiner Wars Skywarp is any indicator. All right, what else do we have on the table? I opened another Battle Call figure prior to Wild Wheel, and that was Bumblebee. And again, neat figure. It comes with a piece I'm going to drop. He comes with armor pieces and a sword and a full helmet chest piece. The chest piece that adds a helmet to him. look, it's another Bumblebee. He turns into a car. Other than the battle call gimmick, he's kind of forgettable. It's enjoyable. Like if you want to experience the battle call gimmick, there's no going wrong with the Bumblebee. But because there's other characters that have gotten kind of one off, of like this is their only figure, or they only have one or two figures, you may want to skip Bumblebee. But if you're a Bumblebee completist, or you just want to collect all the battle call figures, there's certainly nothing wrong. Nothing wrong other than him being plain. But however, his accessories comes with this giant blue clear plastic sword, which means it will take some light through it. If you have a figure like, say, Laser Rod Optimus Prime, or one of those figures, where you can pop this 5mm piece into their hand and light it up. All right, I'm just going with what's on my desk in front of me. And the only other thing on my desk in front of me is a G.I. Joe. And that is the new Alley Viper figure, which I happened to stumble on in the store. And they must have put out an entire case, because there were like 4 Alley Vipers and 4 bats. And I had just ordered the bat the day before from Hasbro Pulse. So I skipped on the bat and just went Alley Viper. I could have army built. I'm trying so hard not to troop build with G.I. Joe, because at $20 a clip, I just can't bring myself to do that. Plus, I want to leave some out there for other collectors. I know scalpers are probably just going out and grabbing them, but with how hard this line is to find, especially how hard Vipers are to come by usually, I have no need to take a whole bunch off of shelves. I think I'm troop building on the, come to think of it, I think I did pre-order 2 of each of the Python Patrol guys, but that's because that's a sub line of G.I. Joe that I really love, and I plan on at least having 2 and troop building off of those. But I got to say, this is my first Viper Cobra kind of like generic I've opened. So far, I've opened only a handful of G.I. Joes. I'm just looking off in the distance. Storm Shadow, Cobra Commander, Prophet Director, Destro. I mean, maybe one other Joe floating around here that I've opened. Haven't opened Snake Eyes yet. Haven't opened. Yeah, I think that might be all of it. So this is only like the 4th Joe I've opened. And I have to say, he is loaded with accessories, which is really cool. He's got knives. He's got multiple guns, both with removable clips. That really is a neat feature. He's got a leg holster with a pistol in it. He's got a grappling hook with no string, but it looks like there are string ports on both the gun and the hook. So that and the hook is removable from the actual firing weapon. He's got the mask. Overall, without getting into the silly details of all the joints, and other than that, all really cool. Also, the shield is on a turn. I don't know what you would call this, but the shield rotates. So once you attach the shield, you can leave it straight up and down, or you can turn it to match his arm, flip it around, do all sorts of crazy combinations. So I would say if you're into Joes, especially ones that are in bright colors and just loaded with accessories, definitely pick up the Alley Viper. All right, so I grabbed a few more figures from my table of stuff I've opened recently. Mostly Transformers. We'll start with the non-Transformer, just to not get it out of the way, but because I figure like we're coming off the G.I. Joe stuff, this is an interesting one to talk about. It is Power Rangers Ranger Slayer. Now, I know nothing about this character. I really don't know much about Power Rangers as a whole. This is actually my first Power Rangers figure. Hasbro sent this to me, so thank you to Hasbro for the free toy. And gotta say, I kept it for a couple of reasons. One, I just thought it looked cool. I like the colors, the pink, black, and white. I like keeping pink figures around because my daughter gravitates towards them. So if she wants to play with something, I don't feel like, one, it's Power Rangers figure, I don't care, so she can throw it all over the place, and that's fine. And then two, if she sees something she wants to play with and the color appeals to her, I want to encourage her to certainly mess around with stuff that is around at her eye level. She is very much in love with my Cyberverse Deluxe RC. Grabs it all the time, actually calls it hers, and then tells me her favorite color is pink. She's also very drawn to purple figures, so Shockwave is another one she loves to grab. So part of the reason I kept this and opened it is because I remember being at the Hasbro Toy Fair announcement when they were going to announce this. I was like, that looks pretty cool. She's got this crossbow. She's got this like energy beam thing. And just the deco was really cool looking. So I'm glad Hasbro sent it to me. It's got this neat cape. She doesn't seem to hold her accessories very well. That's the one thing that kind of bugs me about this, especially when it comes to this energy arrow that comes with her crossbow. Other than that, sweet sculpt. I like it. And I think the cape is really what sold me. The cape comes off around the neck. I might try putting that on some other figures. Maybe we'll throw it on Peter Venkman and then see see how that works out. Or on the Alley Viper. Actually, it might look cool on the Alley Viper. I'm going to try that out later and tweet out a picture. All right, back to Transformers. What do we got here? So I got the Golden Disc collection Jackpot. With he's kind of got a misshapen head, much like most people who have it. Other than that, I'm one who really likes the Studio Series Jazz Mold. I think it's fun. I think it's super posable, and look, it's not going to be better than the Reveal the Shield Jazz. That mold is a classic for a reason. But this certainly is a modern take, as a version without door wings. It's great. It comes close, and I like the idea of Action Master figures that transform. So if Hasbro's doing more of these, right? We're getting Mainframe. We got Mainframe really with the Arc. I can't imagine we're not getting Mainframe in his standard colors at some point. But okay, we got Mainframe. We got Jackpot. We've gotten Croc in recent years. We've gotten. I've got a good tread shot. That would be awesome. The one I really want though is Skyfall. Skyfall is just a really cool looking Action Master. Would love to see that one done up with a vehicle mode for sure. Sticking with a Studio Series, another one I opened just recently, and shows you how deep my backlog goes. Studio Series Blur. And I heard of people not liking this figure, and I'm not entirely sure why. The only complaint I have visually about this figure is the head sculpt. Not really thrilled about the likeness. I feel like it doesn't really get his face right. He's got this giant jaw. Like the shape of the head is right, but the shape of the face doesn't feel right. Other than that, I mean he's got a really, and I have an attachment, I think, to Blurs, as that was one of the characters that brought me back to the franchise back in 87, around the return of Optimus Prime, where I really kind of got back into it. You know what? He's posable enough. He's got a little bit of a backpack. I like the arm accessory. Vehicle mode is fine. I don't know if it accurately 100% gets the vehicle mode, but I'm really drawn to the G1 Toys vehicle mode. It'd be neat if he had the shield, but again, cartoon version doesn't really have that. But I don't really see what the major knock is on this figure. He's again, I mean, the engineering on the current figures in both Studio Series and Generations, I mean, let's face it, they're all just really well done action figures that happen to transform into really, solid vehicles. Now, on the flip side of that, another figure I opened just recently, and again, I'm going to grab one that I haven't opened. Hold on. I have a Cyberverse Megatron here that I haven't opened yet, and I'm trying to remember what this size class is called. Scout class. There we go. This is the Cyberverse Scout class. I opened up Windblade, and my issue with the Scout class is that they don't really have vehicle modes, right? So Windblade transforms into this. It's got a neat waist swivel that flips her around 90 degrees, because it's not a full. It's not at her waist. It's cut at an angle in her midsection, and allows her to transform into a Gerwalk mode or Jerwalk mode. I don't know how you say that. I'm not really a Robotech person either, but whatever that's called, where you have a plane that's walking, that's what she does. And it doesn't, it releases this neat feature of these blades in her wings, if I can get them to pop. And she walks around like a plain chicken. But, it doesn't really have a natural vehicle mode. But on the flip side, as an old Gene 1 person, like, you can just as easily fold up the legs and flip them behind her and pretend it's a plane. I mean, as a kid, that's what I would have done, and that's perfectly fine. The robot mode's really good, and since I'm trying to remember if there was a deluxe class, not deluxe class, but a warrior class Windblade, because of any character that really deserved a deluxe class figure from Cyberverse, Windblade was one of them, and especially since she is the majority of that first season when Bumblebee needs an adult. And they didn't really do that version of Windblade justice. But this figure in its robot mode is fantastic. So if you don't plan on transforming it, you just want one to kind of pose around. And again, the scale is what it is, but probably works really well with a Metroplex or an Iguanus, another figure that I haven't opened yet, but I probably should get around to doing soon. I think that'll scale pretty well, and it's just she got bendable knees, she's got shoulder articulation, head articulation. I think. Let's see. Nope, no head articulation. But just as a quick, cheap $5 toy, she's certainly not bad. I've opened some other toys recently, but I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I don't necessarily have any strong opinions about a lot of these. Just looking, let's see, Kingdom Tracks. I don't hate it as much as most people do. I think it's perfectly fine. Reissue Rat Trap. Yeah, he's reissue Rat Trap. Studio Series Slug with Daniel. What a great toy. If you can find the leader class Dinobots, and I don't know how readily available they are anymore. I haven't opened Grimlock, but I've heard good things. That is one. That Slug figure is just awesome. I finally opened my Earthrise Quintessons. Yeah, don't waste your time trying to transform it, but otherwise it is great. I never thought we'd have Quintessons that look this good and were official. Cyberverse Ramjet was a little bit of a letdown, but a nice new take on the character and the color scheme. I thought the parts are 5mm, so I was playing around putting them on other versions of Ramjet, and they don't really match color wise, and they don't really match aesthetically. But so it led me to realize like this is really good, wholly new incarnation of Ramjet. Like it's close enough to be the original, but it's a nice reimagining. And let's see, Deluxe Class Thunder Howl. All the Cyberverse Deluxe classes that I've opened. Slug also in that group. Pick them up. Cyberverse Deluxe is a great series of toys. Every one I've opened has been thoroughly enjoyable. Even the Megatron and Bumblebee and Optimus, for characters that we've probably gotten a million times. And more importantly, and it's a shame because they've taken these pieces out of the later versions of these characters, I finally built McAdam from Cyberverse, everyone's favorite bartender in that universe, and I love it. I love that. I love it's a Build-A-Figure. We haven't had one of those since 2006's Transmutate, and just overall, he's chunky. He doesn't transform. He comes with a weapon, but again, new characters, new looks on old ideas, and he is not really an old idea. I don't know if we ever see McAdam in the Marvel UK run. I'm reading it for Transformers University, so I will find out along with you if you're following along on Transformers University. But just overall, he is neat that he even exists. And I think that's enough views from me. So I think I'm going to wrap up this episode right here. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this podcast, on the website, on the Toy Archive, on the Patreon, patreon.com/TFU.INFO. And big shout out and thank you to all my patrons, all the people who help keep the site going, help keep this podcast going, and just everyone who has always been so nice and positive in this Transformers fan community. Once again, I am Anthony Bricali, owner, operator, and man behind TFU.INFO. We got new Transformers University coming soon. Potentially more news and views as news breaks. Till next time. See ya.
Want to be on the show? Leave us a voicemail at 702-763-4838. That's 702-POD-4TFU. Or send an email to info@TFU.INFO. Be sure to catch us on Twitter at TFU_info and on Facebook and Instagram under the username TFU.INFO, all one word. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, where we post all of our podcasts, plus special video segments, reviews, and live coverage of Transformers-related events such as New York Toy Fair and New York Comic-Con. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please visit us at www.tfu.info, the world's longest-running transforming toy archive.